Hello, everyone. Welcome to Deacon's NFL Talk. I'm your host, Deacon, and welcome back to another episode on the channel. This week we have a few topics of NFL news. Nothing crazy, but they are actually some pretty big topics this week. After that, we have a lot of quick hits to get to. Then we have like 5 reactions this week, and trust me, the reactions this week are actually like awesome. Like the highlights are actually insane. And then we have the Week 14 recap, Week 15 power rankings, and then after that we'll have my Week 15 predictions. Then we have NFL Fantasy Stardom Situm, and then one burning question of the week. This is Deacon's NFL Talk. Alright, everybody, we're going to jump right into this one. So, like always, we always got to start off with the first topic. And this week, we have the Buccaneers safety, Antoine Winfield Jr., to miss some time with a knee sprain. This is actually a huge blow to the Buccaneers team that is actually very, definitely, they're in the NFC South race with the Atlanta Falcons. It's a tight race. I think the Buccaneers will edge the Falcons just by a little bit. But this is actually a huge blow to a Buccaneers team that is pushing towards the playoffs. If the season were to end right now, the Buccaneers would be in the playoffs. They would be the fourth seed in the playoffs, and they would play against the 5th seed. And Buccaneers head coach Todd Bowles said that he will be out a couple of weeks. So I would say, so let's see, the Buccaneers right now, they have 4 games remaining. So if Todd Bowles, if he's saying a couple games left, then if he actually means 2 games left, then that means he'd play against the Panthers and Saints. The games he will miss are the Chargers and Cowboys games. Like if he actually means 2 games. So, I mean, some pretty good games. He misses the best 2 games left on the schedule. Honestly, don't sleep on the Panthers, though. We saw what the Panthers did. They almost beat the Buccaneers. They beat them in overtime, 26-23, in a wild thriller. And Winfield Jr. did not return to the team's 28-13 win over the Las Vegas Raiders. So, really big injury for the Buccaneers, who have had a couple of injuries on the offensive side as well. I mean, losing Mike Evans for about a month or so, and then they lost Chris Godwin for the year when they lost to the Ravens on October 21st by 10. So they've really been banged up this season. They've had some close games even without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I mean, they barely lose to the Falcons. So right now, if we were to sit here and talk about like the Falcons and Buccaneers like having tied records, if the Falcons and Buccaneers actually have the same record by the end of the year, the Falcons would get the nod as the division winner, because the Falcons are currently winning the series between the two 2-0. The Falcons won the first one 36-30 in overtime, and then they won the second one 31-26. So it's going to be interesting to see how the NFC South ends, because the Panthers aren't actually out of the conversation yet. They're 3-10, but they still have a shot if the Buccaneers lose out, and so do the Falcons. But my prediction, I would say the Buccaneers, they lose to the Chargers, they'd beat the Cowboys, so then the Panthers are eliminated. Really, it just takes one more game for the Buccaneers and Falcons or mainly the Buccaneers, to win, and then the Panthers are done. I would really love to see the Panthers in the playoffs, even though they really haven't been able to finish some games out. They would actually do a lot of damage. Like, we'll get back to the Buccaneers, but the Panthers right now, they lost to the Chiefs by 3, lost to the Buccaneers by 3 in overtime, and lost to the Eagles by 6. But anyway, back to the Buccaneers. The Bucs will be without him against the Chargers and Cowboys, and then we'll see. He could return against the Panthers unless the Buccaneers have other plans and they decide to sit him out longer. They decide to sit him in that matchup. We'll see what the Buccaneers do with him. Maybe we'll know closer to time. We'll see what happens. But anyway, we're going to go to the next topic. Sorry if my voice sounds weird. I had a cold last Sunday, and my voice is just like, sounds a lot different right now. But anyway, second topic, Saints quarterback Derek Carr is feared to have suffered a season-ending hand fracture injury. Really a blow to the Saints. This is something that really doesn't hurt them anymore. I mean, they're out of the playoffs. I mean, I want to say they're out of the conversation yet. They're 5-8. They're not done yet. Obviously, like I said, they need the Panthers, or not the Panthers. They need the Buccaneers and the Falcons to just constantly lose. Because right now, if they were to outpace the Buccaneers, that wouldn't work. I mean, right now the Buccaneers are up in the series 1-0. 1-0. If they were to outpace the Falcons, they would actually be tied. The series between the Falcons and Saints is tied 1-1. So I mean, we'll see what happens in that series. But anyway, Carr injured his non-throwing hand and is currently in concussion protocol as well. So this is really a really bad injury for the Saints. Who I say this every time I bring up something about the Saints. The Saints started 2-0, and it's just not your average barely sneak away with a win against a good or bad team. No, this is like you absolutely obliterate the Panthers 47-10, and then you obliterate the Cowboys 44-19. Sure, at this point in the year, we know what team's identity is right now, and the Panthers and the Cowboys aren't really good football teams. But then you go play the Eagles. You barely lose 3. You lose by 3, 15-12. Then you barely lose to the Falcons, and then you get cooked by the Chiefs. You get cooked by the Buccaneers. You get cooked by the Broncos. You get cooked by the Chargers. You lose to the Panthers by 1. You beat the Falcons by 3. You smoke the Browns. You lose to the Rams by 7, and then you beat the Giants by a blocked field goal. So it's really been an up and down season for a Saints team that was looking like a legitimate contender at the start of the season, when they put up 40+ points in the first 2 weeks of the season, which actually shocked a lot of people. It shocked me, honestly, when I saw that the Saints actually smoked the Cowboys, when I thought the Cowboys were supposed to be a good team. At the time, they were 1-0 when the Saints beat them. Then they were 1-1 after the loss. But back to Derek Carr. I mean, Saints tight end Juwan Johnson mentioned that before the drive, Carr said he was going to lay it out on the line. So I don't think he meant literally, but it turned out to be literally. So I always bring up how the Saints start off 2-0, because when a team starts off 2-0, you're supposed to win at least the majority of the games left in the schedule. The Saints have not done that. They haven't. I mean, obviously, before the Giants game, the last game they won was against the Browns, and I mean, the Browns aren't even good either. But is there a win that the Saints have on their schedule that is really surprising? It's not against the Panthers. It's not against the Cowboys. I mean, sure, they're not a bad team, but the Saints are comparable. I mean, as of right now, if these two teams were to face off again right now, I would say I'd pick the Cowboys over the Saints. With the way, sure, the Saints have had some injuries. The Saints did lose Rashid Shaheed. I won't deny that the Saints did not lose valuable players to injuries, because they have lost some good guys to injuries. But is there really a game that they won that was just really crazy? I'm going through the schedule right now. There's really not. The biggest win that they have is against the Cowboys. But I would say the biggest game, the most shocking game they had was against the Eagles when they lost by 3. But then again, they didn't win. But yeah, Derek Carr, solid quarterback. I would not be surprised if the Saints would turn to Spencer Rattler by next season. When you have a veteran quarterback like Derek Carr, you could definitely see Spencer Rattler taking some of the IQ that Derek Carr has, or at least learning from Derek Carr. I'm not saying that he's going to be like Derek Carr, or that Derek Carr wants him to be like another version of himself. I also wouldn't be surprised if the Saints went and draft a quarterback in this year's draft, because right now, what are we sitting at? I'm gonna look up and see where the Saints would be sitting at in the draft right now. If the season ended right now, where would the Saints be at in the draft? the Saints would have the 10th overall pick in the draft. Okay? They actually have a good chance at getting a quarterback. Like, no kidding. And we'll see. They could go in a completely different direction. They could go with a wide receiver. I mean, another weapon. Who knows? Like, I would not be surprised, though, if they got a quarterback. Like, maybe someone on defense as well. We'll see what the Saints do at the end of the year. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if they do keep Derek Carr. Because, obviously, when you have a late injury, how late it was, Week 13, you might miss a good amount of games the next season. I could definitely see Derek Carr missing a few games next year. If he doesn't, I really wouldn't be shocked either because, I mean, right now it's not a for sure season-ending injury, but it is a likely season-ending injury. We'll see what happens with the Saints. They definitely have some work to do. I feel like firing Dennis Allen was the right call, but we'll see. The Saints hopefully will cut down their injuries next season. We're going to go to the third topic. Panthers rookie running back Jonathan Brooks is done for the year after another torn ACL. This topic really does not make me feel good because for those of you who do not know who Jonathan Brooks is, this is a running back from Texas who tore his ACL in college, and that's a big reason why his draft stock wasn't really at where it should have been. If he didn't tear his ACL in college, he would have been arguably a first-round pick. He was drafted in the second round, but he is a really talented running back. And like Jonathan Brooks and Chuba Hubbard together is actually a pretty interesting duo that they have at the running back position. Obviously, we know what Chuba Hubbard's made of, really good back. If Jonathan Brooks can stay healthy, he can be a really good running back. Him and Chuba Hubbard can be thunder and lightning. I mean, the unfortunate thing is, the most disappointing thing is that it was a non-contact injury and was carted off the field. It's just, I feel so bad for Jonathan Brooks. When I saw the next morning, because obviously I'm not a Bengals fan, and my Sundays are typically busy in the afternoon, so I didn't really see that injury until Monday morning. And I saw that it was a knee injury, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. I had a feeling in my gut that it was going to be another torn ACL, and look where we're sitting at right now. Now everyone's reacting to it. It is a torn ACL. It's just one of the things, like, how can he stay healthy? I mean, the crazy fact is, last week was week 13, right? Yeah, last week was week 14. For some reason, I think it was week 13. Last week was week 14. Okay. Brooks made his debut in Week 12 against the Buccaneers. And a week later, he tears his ACL again. And the thing is, with a torn ACL, like, he's going to be out probably up until the same time he returned this year. Like, it's so late in the year. Like, late season injuries are the worst injuries, like season-ending injuries anyone can have. It's just really devastating, especially him, a young running back who played his first NFL snap 2 weeks ago and is now done for the year again. All right. Like I said, he tore his ACL back in college with Texas. He was really good back in Texas, I will add. It's just really hard to see him go. A running back with so much upside, once he can get going. I don't know if this is like a trainer problem. I don't know how he can. I don't know how he's going to recover from this. I mean, I know he will. Jonathan Brooks is going to recover from this, but it's just how, like, I'm sure this, like, anytime you hurt yourself, not even badly, like, you break something, okay? Like, you don't want to do it again, so you kind of get scared to do it. It's going to be one of those things for him. I believe he re-tore his ACL, the same one he tore in college, and that just makes it not. I wouldn't say much worse. You don't want to tear the other one. I would say Brooks is in a better scenario for tearing the same one he tore in college. It does potentially make his ACL weaker, which is the other problem with that. Like, you can't tear your same ACL twice. especially how young he is. Like, he might do this again. I would not be surprised if he did it again. We'll see. I sure hope he has a speedy recovery, and I really want to see him play again. Anyway, fourth topic: Cowboys linebacker DeMarvion Overshown to have a season-ending surgery on his left knee and could potentially miss all of 2025. A huge blow to the Cowboys team that has not seen many bright spots. I say that every topic where there's an injury of a really talented player in a really bad situation. The Cowboys last year were talented. I mean, they're really good. I mean, Overshown has so much upside. He has so much potential to be a really good linebacker in the league. I would not be surprised if he's top 10 by the end of his career. He's that good. I mean, Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy confirmed he will miss this season and potentially 2025, which we can sit here and talk about the Jonathan Brooks injury, and I could be saying he could miss like all of 2025, or he could miss some of it. It's easy to sit here and say that as like a citizen, like not a citizen. It's easy to say that as just a fan. But whenever you hear that from a head coach, it's like, oh wow, we can't just sit here and say he could do this. This could actually happen. Like, it's one of those scenarios for Overshown. I mean, according to ESPN, Overshown tore his ACL, MCL, and PCL. Like, that is a bad injury. I mean, I've heard ACL and MCL, but I've never heard PCL along with that as well. And Overshown, I believe, tore his ACL last year too, which makes it even worse. I actually don't know if it's the same one or not. But, I mean, he was trying to make a tackle when he kind of got rolled up in a pile and then was helped off the field. It's just really bad for the Cowboys this year. I mean, they've had injuries, I will say. But really, I'm going to read off their schedule this year. Okay? All right, so week 1, against the Browns, they won. Against the Saints, lost. Okay, they lost to the Ravens. They beat the Giants. They beat the Steelers. Well, that's actually a crazy one to look back on now. They lost to the Lions. They lost to the 49ers. They lost to the Falcons. They lost to the Eagles. They lost to the Texans. They beat the Commanders. They beat the Giants. And they lost to the Bengals. I'm going to go back through the schedule, and I'm going to figure out what their record would have been if this was last year. Browns, 1-0. Saints, 2-0. Ravens, 2-1. Giants, 3-1. Steelers, 4-1. Lions, I would say 4-2. Actually, no, I would say the Cowboys will win that game. I would say they'd be 5-1. They lose to the 49ers, 5-2. They beat the Falcons, 6-1. Eagles, 7-1. Texans, I gotta say 8-1. Commanders, obviously 9-1. And Giants, 10-1. Bengals, debatable. I would say Cincinnati pulls it out. I could be wrong. I'm not biased or anything. But they could if this was like last year's team, the Cowboys could have literally been 10-2, like 11-2, 12-1. But this is a completely different year. And I feel like Overshown is just in a really bad spot right now. I mean, his season ends with 90 tackles, 5 sacks, 1 interception, 1 pick six, 1 forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery. That is actually wild. I mean, he's not old either. Like, I believe this was his second year. When you put up the numbers that Overshown has put up, it really shows you how much upside that this kid has. I mean, I can't wait to see him play again next year. It'll be fun to watch. Sorry about that. Next topic. Former NFL head coach Bill Belichick joins North Carolina, the Tar Heels, in college football. I'll go through this one quickly. Belichick has never coached at the college level. And he agreed to a 5-year deal in which he will make $10 million per year. He will coach in 2025, the first time since coaching in 2023. And Belichick spent 49 years coaching in the NFL. we can sit here and talk about this for a little bit, but honestly, I didn't really see this coming. I saw that like this could happen. I didn't think it would happen. That's the thing. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, normally we see college coaches come to the NFL and absolutely like do horrible. Like they almost never do good. And that's mainly because that the NFL is much harder than college is. I'm not saying I'm not gonna say include all the NIL stuff. I don't even make sense. I don't even get how that makes sense. But like I would say like physicality. Maybe not physicality, but like the NFL is just harder. I'm sorry, my mouth's getting dry. But the NFL is actually a much harder sport than college football is. Like I said, I'm not going to include the off season, but I'm just really surprised that Bill Belichick joined North Carolina. We'll see what he does next year. I mean, North Carolina was really that good this year, but we'll see what happens. All right, second to last, Broncos extend offensive tackle Garrett Bowles to a 4-year, $82 million deal. Before the deal, Bowles was set to become a free agent during the 2025 offseason. Bowles will remain tied with the Broncos up until the end of 2028. This is actually a really good pickup, or a really good extension for the Broncos, who really need to protect Bo Nix this season. I mean, they really have done a pretty solid job of it, at least Bowles has, because, I mean, the 8th-year veteran recorded the 4th highest pass blocking grade at his position, which is actually very good. And he also receives $42 million guaranteed. So this is really a good signing by the Broncos here. I mean, you have your quarterback of the future for the first time in what feels like forever. And now you got to protect him. You're going to have to get him weapons in this year's draft. You're going to have to get him an even better offensive line. The defense is actually pretty solid. But they're gonna have to get him weapons outside of Cortland Sutton. And that was one thing coming into this year that the Broncos needed, was a weapon outside of Cortland Sutton. Like, that's why so many people had the Broncos drafting Brock Bowers. And that could have happened. Obviously, Bo Nix was the right choice right now. But now, next year, though, there are some pretty solid weapons, like Emeka Egbuka at wide receiver, Travis Hunter. Just good luck with that. There's McMillan from Arizona. I can't say his first name. I don't know how to pronounce it. But there actually has some pretty solid depth at that wide receiver position this year. Kyron Lacey from LSU is a dark horse. There's some good depth at this position in the draft, and I feel like the Broncos have to double down. But we'll see what they do. We're going to go to the last topic really quickly because we might go over time because we have a bunch of other topics or a bunch of other stuff to get to. Jaguars lose tight end Evan Ingram for the year after a torn labrum injury. This is actually another huge blow to the Jaguars, who have had so many injuries this season, kind of like the 49ers, but almost worse, I would say. The labrum injury will require surgery. Ingram did not participate in practice Wednesday or Thursday before head coach Doug Peterson made the announcement, and Ingram has only appeared in 9 games for Jacksonville this year when he missed time with a hammy injury. So really, this has really been a really disappointing season for the Jaguars. I'm going to see if it shows up when I pull up Jaguars injuries. I don't think it will, but they've really lost a lot of weapons this year. Like, not just like for the season, but they've lost Trevor Lawrence. They lose Evan Ingram. They lose Christian Kirk. They lost Brian Thomas Jr. for a bit. And it's just, their entire offense is really in shambles. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. This year for injuries, it's been like so many positions have been injured. Last year, it was all quarterbacks. Like, I feel like it was all quarterbacks. It was just absolutely crazy. But anyway, we're going to go on to quick hits. Eagles place tight end Dallas Goedert on IR with a knee injury. Goddard is expected to return in the playoffs. So, yeah, 4-week injury, should return in the playoffs. Raiders quarterback Aiden O'Connell seen in an air cast after suffering from a bone bruise injury. O'Connell is fortunate that the injury is not as bad as it first appeared, and O'Connell is actually not ruled out for this week. All right, next one. Joe Burrow's house was broken into during Monday Night Football. One of Burrow's friends, neighbors, or employee things, I don't know what you call them, arrived at the house only to see a shattered window in his bedroom. And Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce's homes were also burglarized in October, and 2 other NBA players' homes were burglarized a few months ago. And the NFL has urged players, and the NBA actually, has urged players around the league to secure their homes. I don't understand how players are getting paid millions of dollars and then don't have security. They have everything else but security. It just doesn't make any sense. Next one, ex-NFL corner Steven Nelson coming out of retirement to join the Chiefs. Nelson joined the team's practice squad, and Nelson has played for the Chiefs, Steelers, Eagles, and most recently, before his retirement, the Texans. Berlin, Germany to host first ever NFL game in 2025. The regular season game will be played in Olympic Stadium. It will be the 4th year in a row that Germany has hosted an NFL game, and Roger Goodell is aiming to have 8 international games in next season compared to this year's 5. And I also saw that the Steelers are announced to be playing in Ireland next year, which I do not want the Bengals to play in any other country than the United States. Next one, Azeez Al-Shir suspension is costing the linebacker $9 million in guarantees. If Houston really wants to release Al-Shir, it wouldn't cost Houston a penny, because his guaranteed money is getting taken away. So if Houston wants to get away with cutting Al-Shir, they can do that for free. And last one, then we have another few that I just saw pop up. Dolphins and Odell Beckham Jr. agreed to part ways after 14 games. Beckham Jr. only played 9 games with Miami because he was on the physically unable to perform list at the start of the season. Like I said, I just saw some other ones pop up. I saw that Raiders defensive end Snowden is charged with a DUI. What's his first name? Charles Snowden. The Raiders defensive end is charged with a DUI. And the last one, the 49ers are moving on from Devondre Campbell after he refused to play against the Rams. You can't do this. I know this is a quick hit, but you can't do that. Like, the fact that you get cut like that and then let's start with this. I believe the game was ending. I actually don't remember. But Kyle Shanahan, I believe I read this right. Kyle Shanahan was calling him onto the field already after he was walking to the locker room. After the game, you have players calling you out for doing the wrong thing, and then the next day you get cut. That's just crazy. That's actually wild that happened. And the thing is now, nobody's gonna pick the guy up. He's good. He may be good. He may be not. I actually don't know. But who's gonna want to sign this guy? His lack of work, I guess, if you want to call it that, is not good. Also, one more. Marshawn Lattimore is to make his Commanders debut against the Saints this week, which is going to be interesting. So yeah, he's gonna make his season debut with the Commanders this year. Can't wait for that. Reactions. We're gonna get through this quickly because we're gonna go well over time. This episode is actually pretty big this week. We're gonna start off with the first one. I believe there's 1 or 2 highlights from the Rams-Bills game, which is actually a wild game. We're going to go to the Saints blocked field goal, okay? This one is actually crazy. All right, I was watching this live. I was just saying to the kicker, don't miss it, but it wasn't the kicker's fault. You know, I'm going to play it right here. 35 yards, chip shotter is blocked. And it's no good. Honestly, the Giants, I just kind of feel so bad for the Giants. Like, they've really suffered a lot this year. You can even see Dayball's like, what in the world? Like, just when the Giants could have sent it to overtime, it's blocked, which is actually crazy. I honestly do feel bad for the Giants at this point. All right, next one. Puka Nacua, arguably the catch of the year against the Cowboys. Actually, Puka Nacua is in 2 of these this week. Here we go. Play it now. 2nd and 10, 14-17. Stafford, look. Stafford throws down the sideline. Puka Nacua tiptoes. It kind of looks like he hovers. So, like, it almost looks like it's incomplete. But then you see right here, the toes are obviously in. And he's gonna score, or he's gonna let it count. It literally, when you watch it live, it kind of looks like he's hovering in the air, which makes it look like it's incomplete. Look at that shot. That shot's amazing. But, like, what a catch by Puka Nacua. Dude, he's been insane when he's healthy. We're going to go to this controversial blocked punt by the Cowboys. If you guys didn't see my short, the Cowboys found another way to lose. Here we go. Play it here. As a Bengals fan, there was so much emotions in one play. Bengals fan, I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. Like, I was like, they're going to get the ball upfield. He tries to get the ball, and he goes right into Minchong Meta's hands, and he completely messes up, and it's Bengals football. As a Bengals fan, I was watching this like, the block. All right, this play happens, the blocked punt. I watch it happen. I'm like, I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me. The Cowboys are gonna great field position. And then I see that we get the ball back, and I'm like, we're short of the sticks, right? It's their ball, and actually no, the guy touched it, and then it's our ball. You can see the special teams coordinator right here. He's about to do it. He gets all pumped, and then he sees that he touched the ball, and it's our football. But honestly, even as a Bengals fan, I'm not going to sit here and be, like, point fingers and laugh at the Cowboys. Because one thing that the NFL does, I have to clarify, is I thought we had to get the first down. Like, I feel like everyone thought that. I totally thought that you had to get a first down, so I kind of want to hear the NFL clarify this, because I totally thought we had to get a first down. I could be wrong, but now I know, I guess. And if I see it again, I know if they're right or wrong. And then the last one, actually no, we have two more. Puka Nacua, or no, sorry. This blocked punt, another blocked punt by the Rams, happened. It says touchdown. Here, play it now. Look, it goes up and it's blocked. And the dude couldn't really quite scoop it up, and then he finally did. And he took it to the house. And what a play. This is actually the game of the week, arguably the game of the year. An offensive shootout for sure. Definitely a wild game. I didn't watch this. I would have loved to. But, I mean, it's just wild, like, how good of a game this was. We're going to go to the last one. Puka Nacua again. Puka Nacua literally makes another outstanding catch. Here we go. 1st and 10, 3-zip, and a really sloppy game. Look at this. Catches it on the dude's helmet. When I saw the title of this video, it said Puka Nacua channels a David Tyree or whatever. I thought it was gonna be like an actual good what's the word? I forget the word. I don't know, but I thought it was gonna actually be a good impression of the Tyree catch. It turns out, I mean, it was cool. It shows that he has really strong hands, but it wasn't as cool as I thought it was going to be, I guess what I'm trying to say. Before we go on, let's see if there's any more NFL news. This episode is actually going to be super long this week. I don't know. Nothing new yet. All right, we're going to go on to the Week 14 recap very quickly. The Lions beat the Packers 34-31. The Steelers beat the Browns 27-14. The Saints beat the Giants 14-11. The Dolphins won in overtime against the Jets 32-26. The Jaguars won in a boring game 10-6 against the Titans. The Vikings absolutely smoked the Falcons 42-21 in Kirk Cousins' return to Minnesota. The Eagles barely edged the Panthers 22-16. The Buccaneers win against the Raiders 28-13. The Seahawks win against the Cardinals 30-18. My throat is getting dry again. The Bears get smoked by the 49ers 38-13. That shows that coach really wasn't only the Bears' problem. The Rams beat the Bills 44-42 in the game of the year. Arguably, the Chiefs also won by a literal doink of the field goal. I didn't get to that reactions this week, but it's just the stupidest way to win. They won 19-17 against the Chargers. And then the Bengals won mainly because of our punter and because of the Cowboys, 27-20. And then the Rams, I will say, won 12-6 in a field goal fest, which actually was a really boring game. Didn't watch it, thankfully, because that would have been bored out of my mind. We're going to go on to Week 15 Power Rankings. Here we go. Number 1, Lions. Number 2, Eagles. Number 3, Bills. Those three have no change. The Chiefs went up 1 spot to number 4. The Packers dropped to number 5 by 1 spot. The Vikings went up 8 spots. They were our biggest riser of the week to number 6. The Chargers went to 7. The Steelers went to 8. Both teams no change. Ravens -3. Seahawks +3. Buccaneers +1 at 11. The Rams +5 at number 12. The Broncos -1 at 13. The Texans -4 at number 14. The Dolphins +5 at 15. The Commanders -5 at 16. The Bengals -1 at 17. Even though they won, a lot of teams did much better than they did, so I have to do something about that. At number 8, the 49ers, they went up 1 spot. The Cardinals went up, or the Cardinals dropped 4 spots to number 19. The Cowboys went up 2 spots, even though they won. I mean, really, they played better than the teams that lost this week. The Cowboys went to number 20. The Bears dropped 3 spots to number 21. The Panthers went up 1 spot to number 22. The Colts went up to number 23. They dropped to number 23, dropping 2 spots. The Browns went up 3 spots to 24. The Jaguars at 25. Raiders at 26. Both teams had no change. The Patriots dropped to 27, -3. The Falcons went up 1 spot, even though they lost to 28. The Jets went up 1 spot to 29. The Saints dropped 2 spots to 30. The Titans went up 1 spot to 31. And the worst team in the NFL goes to the New York Giants, dropping 1 spot. We're going to go to predictions quickly. This might be a 45-minute episode. Sorry about the long episodes. There's really just a lot to get to, especially after this week. And guess what? After last week. This week is honestly going to be even longer because there's even better games. Week 15 predictions. Last week, though, I actually did pretty solid, going 10-3. The month of December has treated me well. I predicted the Rams to win against the 49ers. That went well. Anyway. Sunday games, Washington over New Orleans, Kansas City over Cleveland, Cincinnati over Tennessee, Houston over Miami, Baltimore over New York, the New York Giants. I will say the Jets over the Jaguars. Hopefully that pans out well. And the Cowboys over the Panthers, barely though. Afternoon games, Chargers over the Buccaneers, Broncos over the Colts, Cardinals over the Patriots, Detroit over the Bills. It'll be interesting to see how this one goes. I would not be surprised if Josh Allen cooks again. The Eagles over the Steelers. That'll be a good game. Sunday night, I have the Packers over the Seahawks. Monday night, doubleheader. I have the Vikings over the Bears and the Falcons over the Raiders. The games this week to watch for is Miami-Houston. That could be a good game. Very fair game. Cowboys and Panthers, Buccaneers and Chargers. That's what, 3 already? Colts and Broncos, Detroit Lions against the Buffalo Bills, the Steelers and Eagles, and then the Seahawks and Packers. That's 7 games that are going to be interesting. Oh, sorry, guys. My throat's getting really dry. Anyway, NFL Fantasy Stardom, sit 'em very, very quickly. Then we still have the question of the week. Stardom for quarterback. Start Jan Daniels against the Saints. Kyler Murray against the Patriots. Jared Goff against the Bills. Justin Herbert against the Buccaneers. Sit C.J. Stroud against the Dolphins. Russell Wilson against the Eagles. Geno Smith against the Packers. Sorry about that. And Kirk Cousins against the Raiders. We're going to go over to running backs now. I really need to bring a water in next time. All right, running backs. Start James Conner against the Patriots. Chuba Hubbard against the Cowboys. Aaron Jones against the Bears. Rico Dowdle against the Panthers. And sit DeAndre Swift against the Vikings. Sit Najee Harris and Jalen Warren against the Eagles. Travis Etienne against the Jets. And Nick Chubb against the Chiefs. We're going to go over to wide receivers now, and I will get to the Deacons NFL Talk Fantasy League in a bit because the playoffs started this week. Super pumped about that. Start Jerry Jeudy against the Chiefs, and Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams against the Jaguars, Khalil Shakir against the Lions, and Calvin Ridley against the Bengals. Sit Brian Thomas Jr. against the Jets, Deebo Samuel against the Rams, Michael Pittman against the Broncos, and Tank Dell against the Dolphins. We're going to go to tight ends now. Tight ends have really had a down year for fantasy and the NFL this year too. Start David Njoku against the Chiefs, Jonnu Smith against the Texans, Hunter Henry against the 49ers, and Pat Freiermuth against the Eagles. It says sit Evan Ingram against the Jets, even though he's not even going to play anyway. So let's skip that one. Sit Kyle Pitts against the Raiders. Sit Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox against the Lions, and Cole Kmet against the Minnesota Vikings. Kickers now, and then all we have is kickers and defenses, and then we'll go question of the week. Start Chris Boswell against the Eagles, Jake Bates against the Bills, Chase McLaughlin against the Chargers, Kami Fairbairn against the Dolphins. It's the first time I've said that right. Cameron Dicker against the Buccaneers, Brandon Aubrey against the Panthers, Chad Ryland against the Patriots, Jason Sanders against the Texans, Jason Myers against the Packers, Justin Tucker against the Giants, Tyler Bass against the Lions, Matthew Wright against the Browns, Zane Gonzalez against the Saints, Brandon McManus against the Seahawks, Will Reichard against the Bears, Cade York, who is on the Bengals now, against the Titans, and Will Lutz against the Colts. That's a lot of stardom. All right, sit Younghoe Koo against the Raiders, Jake Elliott against the Steelers, Dustin Hopkins against the Chiefs, Carlos Santos against the Vikings, Daniel Carlson against the Falcons, Anders Carlson against the Jaguars, Joey Sly against the Cardinals. I'm pretty sure they have every kicker. Blake Grupe against the Commanders, Eddie Pinheiro against the Cowboys, Graham Gano against the Ravens, Matt Gay against the Broncos, Nick Folk against the Bengals, and Cam Little against the New York Jets. We're going to defenses, and then I'll talk a little bit about the DNT Fantasy League, stuff. All right, start the Vikings defense against the Bears, the Broncos defense against the Colts, the Ravens defense against the Giants, and the Jets defense against the Jaguars. Sit the Steelers defense against the Eagles, the Lions defense against the Bills, and that's really all for sit on that one. All right, so the Deacons will talk Fantasy League right now. The playoffs are currently underway. They started Thursday, and they're still going. I don't know how many times I'm cough in this video. I'm currently up against Falcons, the 8 seed, 13-20. I made the playoffs so everyone can participate in the playoffs. I might change that next year. I'm up 13.20 points over Falcons. Kyron Williams is the one who got me my points. I still got Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Travis Kelce, and Chase Brown. Brandon Aubrey and the Baltimore Ravens defense still left to play. He actually has Jared Goff, Jonathan Taylor, Ramondre Stevenson, Stephon Diggs, who's on IR, Tyreek Hill, Dalton Kincaid, Omari Cooper, Harrison Butker, who's also on IR, and the Bills. So, we'll see. If I actually lose this game, that'll actually be really disappointing. I'm going to go into the playoff picture, though. Okay, I'm facing Falcons. It's going to be the 4 seed CMC Prods against the 5 seed Laporta Potty. The 3 seed Sparks Skib team against the 6 seed Cannonball 9. And the 2 seed Jair against the 7 seed T-Dog. It'll be interesting. There's 2 semifinal games, a fantasy Super Bowl, a 3rd place game, a 5th place game, and a 7th place game. So, we're going to go to the question of the week, and then this episode will be over, and you guys can do whatever you want. Who will win the NFC West? I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I don't think I am. Who's going to win the NFC West? For those of you who don't know who's in the NFC West, I will show you. Right now, the NFC West consists of teams of the 8-5 Falcons, the 8-6 Rams, the 6-7 Cardinals, and the 6-8 49ers. If I had to cross out teams, the 49ers are eliminated from the playoffs. Well, I guess they're not playoffs. We're talking about the NFC West. The 49ers aren't going to win the NFC West. The Cardinals aren't going to win the NFC West. It's between the Rams and Seahawks, and it's going to be very interesting to see who wins this. I'm leaning more towards the Seahawks right now. Right now they're 8-5. Let's go over their schedule. Packers lost 8-6. Vikings. This one. This one's interesting. Look out for that one. I'll get back to that one. They beat the Bears, 9-6, and then they play the Rams. Oh my! There's two very debatable games against the Vikings and Seahawks. And the Rams, they're at what is it? 8-6. Yeah, they're at 8-6 right now. Against the Jets, 9-6. Against the Cardinals, 10-6. It'll be interesting. And then they have to play the Seahawks. It's gonna come down to the wire, and I believe. Yeah, the Rams have the current series lead 1-0. So if the Rams beat them again, then it's over. And the Seahawks or the Rams would win the division. I still think the Seahawks would make the playoffs. But it'll be interesting to see. If I had a prediction, I would probably say the Seahawks as of right now. But after this week, if the Rams win, or I guess after next week, if the Seahawks lose against the Packers, I gotta say the Rams. So we'll see what happens. But anyway. That's this week's episode. It was a long one. Thank you guys for those of you who stayed until the very end. It was a great one. Check out last week's episode. It was a good one. And hopefully we'll not have long episodes like this, so you don't have to wait as long to see how this episode ends. But if you guys enjoyed, hit the like, the subscribe button, and the notification bell to get notified of every single upload this channel makes. I'll see you guys next week for another great episode on Deacon's NFL Talk.